And oh yeah, and in practicing Hindu and having adopting it as a religion and doing yoga, didn't they perceive you to be weak if you did that?
Okay, let's start with two Tonys. When I got moved to Buckeye Medium Security Prison, my first cellmate was a serial home invader torturer who was breaking into people's houses and taking hammers to their kneecaps. His welcoming statement to me: I've got a padlock in a sock, I can smash your brains in while you sleep, I can kill you whenever I want. Didn't like me from the get-go, and what can I do? I'm stuck in a cell with this guy. He knows my parents are flying 5,000 miles to visit me for Christmas. He gets his mate, a 20-stone California biker, to attack me just when I'm walking to the visit with my parents, just to spoil it, just to getting his kicks off, spoiling what I've got going for me. Now, after this guy attacked me, it didn't end up very well for me. He ended up on the floor injured, and my mum's asking me what's wrong when I'm going to visit, and I can't say because she's had a nervous breakdown and stuff like that. My family put a call into the British Embassy, and I was able to get moved out of that cell after so many weeks because I thought my cellmate was going to try and kill me. Keeping me awake at night, showing me the padlock in the sock, interrogating me. And I got moved, so I'm in a new cell, and I get a new cellmate. He's a young, big guy with all the tattoos, and I'm thinking, oh no, here we go again, this isn't going to end up well. And he just come from a super maximum security prison where his neighbour over there told him before he left, if you meet an English guy in the Buckeye prison, look out for him. And coincidentally, he came right to me to be my cellie. It's like fate. So he started looking out for me from the get-go. The guy who told him that was a guy I knew from the rave scene, who I'd looked out for years earlier. Now, one of the first things my new cellmate did was he goes, I'm going to introduce you to a guy called Two Tonys. I think you should play a game of chess with him. I'm like, oh, what's he in for? Mass murder. I'm like, do you think that's a good idea? Me playing chess with this guy, if I win, he might want to kill me. If I let him win, he might see through it and think, want to kill me? I don't see how this is a winning situation for me. I'd rather not, thank you. And he's like, no, he's a good guy, he's cool, come with me, you'll be alright. I'll stand right there. He's an old guy, you'll see, he's done a lot of time. Everybody respects Two Tonys. So I go over, and it's like something out of Goodfellas, he talks just like that. And he's an older guy, and I'm playing chess with him, and all the way through the game of chess, Two Tonys is speaking his mind. He's basically telling me his game plan. And I'm thinking, I know what this guy's going to do. I can either beat him really easily now because of this, or I can slow it down and just see where it goes and not be so aggressive with him. I thought, no, he might see through that. So I just slaughtered him. He turns around at the end of it and he says, how can you beat me so fast? And I said, because you speak in your mind. And my cellmate says, yeah, you're not going to show someone your hand of cards, are you, in a game of poker? He slaps his head. I don't know whether he was testing me or what, so he told me, I think he was testing me, but I didn't realise at the time how shrewd he was. And then we get talking, and he says, you know what, on the road of life, to stay alive, I've had to be a real quick judge of character. There's been situations where it's my life or theirs life, and it's been like that. And I like you, Shaun. You're an honest guy, and I'm wondering how you would feel about writing my life story. And he asked me to do that very early on. And I was sneaking in his cell nearly every day. He had prisoners positioned outside, watching for guards. And the more I associated with him, then people saw that because everybody respected him, and then his respect kind of rubbed off on me a bit. Did have some situations later on, but Two Tonys made them go away. So that's how I got into the good graces of Two Tonys, just complete fluke. Someone I knew from outside of prison told someone in prison to look out for me, and it just came about because of that. So your second question was, converting to the Hindu religion and doing yoga, would that have made me be perceived as weak in the eyes of the other prisoners? Okay, so I'm in medium security remand, completely gang infested. All these guys with the tattoos, people's heads getting bashed against toilets, bodies getting thrown around, violence every single day. And my sister sends me this book, Yoga Made Easy. So first thing I do is hide it under my mattress, because I don't want a situation like what you described. They're going to think I'm a sissy and start picking on me. But my sister kept on at me, try yoga, try yoga, try yoga. Gotta get her off my back. So I did a flow, all these positions, forward bend, side bend, dog, cat, all these basic postures, and in the end I lay down in corpse pose, flat on my back. I felt all the stress and tension come out of my body for the first time. It's like a warm, melting feeling, almost like being on ecstasy, and I thought to myself, I took drugs to feel like that, you can actually do this naturally. So, because I've got this addictive personality, I started to put my energy into yoga, and I grew less ashamed of it. I generally did it in my cell, but when I was in the super maximum security prison, where I was housed for about 3 or 4 months, most violent, dangerous prisoners in the entire system. My neighbour was a serial killer, my first cellmate was a Satanist, had a pentagram tattooed on his forehead, in for murder, part of a cult that was drinking blood and eating human body parts. And he was actually very nice to me, that guy, I didn't have a problem with him, unfortunately. When I was in Supermax, the guys would talk till late in the night, sometimes 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. And in the beginning, I shoved toilet paper in my ears to try and get to sleep, but I could still hear the voices. I'm thinking to myself, how can I turn this situation to my advantage? I know I'm going to do yoga for as long as these guys talk at night, which could be hours on end. My dad sent me this book, Extreme Yoga. So I learned to do all these upside down positions, like scorpion, where you're just off your forearms, your whole body's curled over like a scorpion. Headstand in lotus position with legs crossed and all this stuff. So the guard would come along at like 3 in the morning, shine his torch in my cell. I'd be hung upside down like a bat. Like, God damn, Attwood, what are you doing in there? Now, I'm answering your question along with all these little stories because what happened was, once I got out of super maximum security and I was in medium security in the prison, I could go out on the rec field and do these positions. And they were very athletic and gymnastic looking, these positions. And the prisoners started coming up to me asking me to teach them yoga. So I went from being completely ashamed of it in the beginning and thinking I was going to be perceived as a sissy and get picked on, to being proud of it and actually starting a class for some of the prisoners who asked me to teach it them. And to encourage prisoners into doing it, I would say stuff like, if you do yoga, you can do the splits. And if you can do the splits, if someone tries to fight you, you just kick them in the head like that. Saying stuff like that, but knowing full well that if they did yoga, they would be so chilled out, they wouldn't want to kick anyone in the head. So that was just my way of luring people in, because you're on the theme of aggression here, and yoga is not perceived as an aggressive thing, is it? Everyone's got this aggressive front in prison, so you've got to get around that to entice them into doing yoga. Yeah. Okay?
How did the guards treat you?
There's good and bad in every profession, and some guards would come and say to us, we're on the front line, this is a dangerous environment, we're not getting paid much. The boss of the jail, Sheriff Joe Arpaio, our boss is out doing all these publicity stunts, running around with Steven Seagal, he's got these reality TV shows, Somalia Under Arrest, Inmate Idol. But we're in here taking all this risk, and we don't appreciate, him running around like this, all PR and all ego. So they were okay, those guards. Like one of the gang rule is, you're not supposed to talk to the guards for very long, otherwise you're perceived as snitching, which is kill on sight. So we had minimal contact with the guards anyway, but some of them would voice off on how hard it was what they were doing, and we'd understand that, and they weren't too hard on us. They showed us respect, because it's a two-way street. The guards were the big bad Robocops, the dark side of being a guard. The guards who come in, they've got egos, and they're looking to commit violence, and they just get someone to throw them down and pepper spray them for the slightest reason. Those kind of guards, are the ones at risk of some prisoner, as things build up in his head, and he explodes, he's going to explode on that type of guard. So, there's good and bad. There's a book I read about a journalist in America, I think it's called Turning the Key. He tried to get into a prison because he wanted to write a book about it, and the prison wouldn't allow him access. So he got a job as a prison guard, and after a year of working as a prison guard, that negative, aggressive energy that pervades prison, he was taking it home with him and being abusive